Have you ever noticed how, no matter how hard you try to be good, there's always someone who steps on you? Maybe at work, when you shouldered everyone's responsibilities and received only indifference in return. Maybe in a relationship, where your dedication became a bargaining chip for manipulation. The truth is harsh. The world doesn't respect those who only try to please. And Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He understood that politics guided by reality, not ideals, reveals a hidden agenda. Those who are too nice become playthings in the hands of those who dominate coldness. And here's the controversial point. Being emotionally dangerous isn't about being cruel, but about being unpredictable, firm, and strategically respected. The end justifies the means when the goal is your own dignity. Better to be feared than loved, because love can disappear in an instant, but respect remains when you show you don't bow down. Imagine how your life would change if instead of trying to please, you started setting clear boundaries, even donning the mask of virtue when necessary. They will never toy with you again because you will have built your own loyal armies, internal and external, that shield your mind from manipulation. What I'm going to show you here isn't just fancy theory, it's real strategy. These are principles that few dare apply, but which transform any ordinary person into someone impossible to ignore. The question is, are you ready to abandon your naivete and delve into this dark art? The price of being too nice. Being too nice seems at first glance a laudable quality, almost like a virtue everyone should cultivate. However, real life doesn't work the way morality books preach. How many times have you seen someone who, by trying to please everyone, ended up ignored, exploited, or left out? This happens because the world doesn't reward naivety. It rewards those who understand politics guided by reality, not ideals. Machiavelli once said that it's better to be feared than loved, and this doesn't mean being cruel, but respected. Excessive kindness is often interpreted as weakness, and real human nature reacts to this by testing limits. Think, for example, of the coworker who always says yes to everything. They pile up tasks, carry other people's burdens, and in the end are still the least valued on the team. This is the invisible trap of those who believe that being nice is enough. In practice, being too nice exacts a high price, never being taken seriously. When someone constantly plays the role of pleasing others, they create an atmosphere of dependence and disrespect. It's like foregoing the calculated use of force to hand over their own power on a silver platter. At home, at work, or even in friendships, the nice person becomes predictable, incapable of setting limits. And predictability, in a reality-driven politics, is a sentence of irrelevance. Imagine a leader who never raises his voice, never makes firm decisions, always tries to compromise. He may even appear virtuous, but his lack of firmness undermines his authority. This is the opposite of Machiavelli's virtue, which consists of shaping destiny with courage, strategy, and discipline. Those who live in this eternal quest for approval end up being used as disposable pieces because they haven't learned the art of avoiding being hated without having to beg for love. Ultimately, the overly nice person doesn't realize that, in reality, they are practicing a silent form of self-abandonment. The secret isn't to abandon kindness entirely, but to balance it with respect, setting clear boundaries. Being respected requires firmness, and firmness often requires rejecting what weakens you. If you always say yes, try the courage of a strategic no, and you'll see how others' perceptions of you change. This is a small example of how to apply decisions based on true human nature. People respect those who respect themselves first. Interestingly, contrary to what it might seem, setting boundaries increases admiration because it signals inner strength. Want to practice this? Start with simple things. When someone asks for a favor you can't fulfill, respond without guilt, directly and politely. This practice creates loyal armies of people who see your natural authority instead of relying on external validation. And it's precisely along these lines that we enter an even deeper realm, the dark art of respect, where being too nice isn't enough, but being strategically respected becomes the real game. The dark art of respect. Respect is never born by chance, much less by good intentions. It is cultivated like a dark art, where every gesture, every word, and even silence carries strategic weight. Machiavelli understood that being loved was an unstable luxury, but being respected was a fortress that stood the test of time. Respect doesn't mean blind fear, but the clear perception that you are not easily manipulated. Think of historical figures who dominated crowds. Often, they weren't the most charismatic, but those who knew when to impose their presence. This is where reality-driven politics trumps any romantic ideal. Respect is built by how you position yourself, by the ability to demonstrate virtue at the right moment, balancing firmness with the appearance of virtue. The truth is that no one respects someone who can't respect themselves. Respect is earned by posture, not by supplication. There's a crucial detail. Respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you provoke. When someone demands respect without ever demonstrating force, it sounds like a child begging for attention. However, when someone acts with clarity, firm boundaries, and decisions based on true human nature, respect emerges almost as an inevitable consequence. This applies in the workplace, in personal relationships, and even in how you treat yourself. For example, if you tolerate constant delays, disorganization, and empty promises, you're teaching others that you can be treated this way. Now, if you demonstrate consequences for negligence, even discreetly, you create an invisible barrier of authority. This is the calculated use of force, applied subtly, without having to raise your voice. This is where many get confused. They think respect comes from excessive kindness, when in reality, it comes from the ability to make oneself heard without asking permission. Respect also has a dark side, because it requires you to accept not being liked by everyone. Those who seek unanimity lose their way on the path to relevance. Better to be feared than loved isn't a license for cruelty, but a reminder that respect often stems from the discomfort you generate by refusing to be molded by others' expectations. This is where constant adaptability comes into play. At certain moments, you need to don the mask of virtue. At others, let strategic coldness speak louder. True respect isn't about shouting or imposing yourself through brute force, but about inspiring in others the certainty that you're not someone easily toppled. This transforms your presence into a kind of silent wall. And when that wall is up, you discover something even more fascinating, the invisible game of emotional manipulation, where those who don't understand how respect works end up becoming puppets of those who know how to pull the strings of their souls. The invisible game of emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is the game where true power is played. It doesn't happen in major political decisions or fiery speeches, but in the almost imperceptible details. A calculated pause, a vague promise, a subtle comparison that makes someone doubt themselves. Machiavelli already warned that politics guided by reality requires more than force. It requires reading the human soul. Manipulation isn't necessarily deceiving. It's understanding how others work and using that to your advantage. See how it works in personal relationships. That friend who always blames you, even when they've done nothing wrong, is playing with your emotions. This is the calculated use of psychological force, and those who don't see this game become pawns. Those who do can become players. Invisible manipulation happens because most people are guided by ideals, not by hard reality. They want to believe in a good heart, in the appearance of virtue, and end up being held hostage by those who know how to exploit their illusions. Have you ever noticed how, in corporate environments, the most valued professional isn't always the most competent, but rather the one who best knows how to manipulate perceptions? This can be as simple as making yourself seem indispensable, even if the results are mediocre. This is where virtue comes in, the ability to shape circumstances, even when fortune seems unfavorable. Those who master this psychological game aren't fooled by smiles or sweet words, because they understand that every gesture has a hidden intention. And those who don't learn to identify this dynamic end up living on an emotional tightrope, unaware that they are manipulated daily. The best defense against manipulation isn't becoming cold and insensitive, but learning to see beyond the words, to look at what's unsaid. This applies in any sphere, in a business negotiation, in a romantic relationship, or even in long-standing friendships. When someone offers you something, ask yourself, what is the invisible price of this? This simple exercise in awareness already puts you at an advantage. It's like building your own loyal armies within yourself, a psychological fortress that protects you from emotional traps. And when you master this awareness, you can even use small doses of manipulation strategically, not to destroy, but to direct. After all, if the world is ruled by invisible games, closing your eyes doesn't make you immune, it just makes you vulnerable. And precisely for this reason, understanding emotional manipulation opens the door to something even deeper, the dance between virtù and fortuna, where strategy and chance meet on the chessboard of life. Virtue and fortune, few concepts are as fascinating as the duality between virtù and fortuna. Machiavelli understood that, in a reality-driven politics, life is not limited to the force of chance, but neither can it be dominated by will alone. Virtù is the ability to act with courage, cunning, and calculation, while fortuna represents the unpredictable, the winds that change without warning. Those who depend solely on luck live at the mercy of storms. Those who rely solely on virtù ignore the fact that life is full of curves that cannot be predicted. The secret lies in balance, knowing when to row against the current and when to let the river carry you faster to your destination. Think of an entrepreneur. No matter how talented, if they launch the right product at the wrong time, fortune will crush them. But if they possess virtù, they will find an alternative path. A true strategist doesn't curse luck. They bend it to their advantage. Virtù isn't bravado, it's discipline. It's using calculated force, having your own loyal armies, and never allowing yourself to be paralyzed by fear. Fortune, on the other hand, is like a spinning wheel. Sometimes it lifts you up, sometimes it knocks you down. The difference lies in how you prepare for the inevitable twists and turns. How many people have you seen win in life through a stroke of luck, only to lose everything due to lack of preparation? This is where virtù shows its superiority. It builds solid castles, even on shaky ground. Being strategically dangerous doesn't mean waiting for fortune to smile, but rather building structures that survive when it turns its back. Machiavelli taught that those who rely solely on fortune are doomed to ruin, because reality exacts its toll on those who don't know how to adapt. Virtù, on the other hand, transforms misfortune into learning, defeat into foundation. It's an invisible shield against the unpredictable. But make no mistake, ignoring fortune is as fatal as relying solely on it. Knowing how to play with chance is a sign of intelligence. Great leaders didn't control every scenario, but they knew how to turn opportunities into stepping stones. History offers examples. Napoleon said that a general needs luck, but his virtue lay in being ready to seize it when it arose. This is where constant adaptability comes in. When the wind changes, the weak lament, the strong adjust their sails. In your practical life, this means not waiting for the perfect job to fall into your lap, but preparing yourself so that when the opportunity arises, you are inevitable. Virtue and fortune are not enemies. They are partners in a power game that few know how to play. And when you understand this dance, you realize that even the appearance of virtue can become a powerful mask, a strategic tool to influence how others perceive you. The mask of virtue. Most people believe that virtue is an innate quality, something that defines someone's character. Machiavelli, however, brought a reality check. True virtue lies not in appearing good, but in being effective. The appearance of virtue is often more powerful than the virtue itself. Why? Because men judge with their eyes before judging with their hearts. This means that whoever masters the mask of virtue controls the narrative. Think of politicians, religious leaders, or even successful business people. They rarely reveal their raw intentions. They wear the guise of kindness, generosity, or transparency, but behind them they harbor cold and calculated strategies. This doesn't necessarily make them false, but rather aware of true human nature. The world rewards not only those who are, but especially those who appear to be. Wearing the mask of virtue isn't cheap hypocrisy, but a strategic resource to avoid being hated. You can make tough decisions, but if you know how to wrap them in an aura of nobility, the impact is minimized. It's the calculated use of force combined with the appearance of virtue. Imagine a manager who needs to lay off part of his team. If he communicates the decision coldly, he'll be hated. But if he dresses it up as a rhetorical discourse about the future, sustainability, and purpose, he maintains respect and even support. This game is invisible to many, but evident to those who understand that politics guided by reality requires occasional performances. The mask of virtue isn't lying. It's knowing how to translate your strategy into language others accept. It's like an actor on stage. It doesn't matter if he's acting, it matters if he convinces. And in the theater of power, those who convince survive. In practical life, using this mask can be as simple as controlling your reactions to others. You can feel angry but appear calm. You can disagree but express diplomacy. You can be insecure but project confidence. This is the virtue of shaping perception. If you always show how you truly feel, you hand over your weapons to others. But if you learn to choose what to show, you create an invisible shield. It doesn't mean living a facade, but protecting your strategy. Want a practical exercise? The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't react impulsively. Hold back, smile, and respond neutrally. This simple gesture already puts you in control. And it is precisely at this point that the next layer of the game emerges. The calculated use of coolness, a weapon that separates the naive from the strategists. The calculated use of coldness. Coldness isn't the absence of emotions, but the ability to control them when everyone around is losing theirs. Machiavelli understood that effective leaders can't be held hostage by the heat of the moment. The calculated use of coldness is what allows you to make decisions based on true human nature, without being carried away by impulse. Think of a negotiation. Those who are desperate to close the deal end up accepting less than they deserve. Those who remain calm, even under pressure, demonstrate invisible power. Coldness is the opposite of emotional naivety. It is virtue applied in practice, a way of shielding your mind from external manipulation. The curious thing is that this posture doesn't need to be constant but strategic. You can be warm in social interactions and cold in the moment of decision, which creates an aura of unpredictability. And unpredictability is respect disguised as mystery. Being cool doesn't mean being insensitive, but being able to control your intensity. Imagine a doctor facing an emergency. If you panic, you jeopardize the patient's life. If you act coolly, you convey security and increase the chances of success. This same principle applies to human relationships. When you react to provocations with calm, You create an invisible barrier that disarms the manipulator. This is the essence of the calculated use of force. It's not about shouting louder, but about maintaining control when everyone expects you to explode. Coolness is a weapon that, used correctly, not only protects, but also commands respect. It shows that you are not vulnerable to emotional pressure and that you have your own loyal armies within you. Discipline, self-control, and mental clarity. In practice, cultivating composure requires practice. You can start with small daily exercises. When faced with an aggressive message, wait a few minutes before responding. When receiving unfair criticism, take a deep breath and consider whether it's worth reacting. In an argument, speak less and observe more. These simple gestures already demonstrate that you're not a plaything of other people's emotions. And little by little, this posture builds a reputation, that of someone who isn't easily shaken. This image is powerful because it conveys stability, and stability is a magnet for trust. However, composure alone doesn't sustain an empire. It takes something more, a loyal emotional army, both internal and external, to support your posture and protect you from the storms to come. And it is precisely this topic that we now address. Loyal emotional armies. No power is solid if it isn't sustained by loyalty. Machiavelli said that governing with one's own loyal armies was the only way to avoid being overthrown. The same goes for emotional life. Those who don't build an army of internal and external allies end up at the mercy of unstable forces. Internally, this army is composed of discipline, self-control, and mental clarity. Externally, it's made up of people who truly respect you, not just take advantage. Have you ever noticed how some leaders manage to weather crises because they rely on people who stick by them to the end? This isn't born of cheap charisma, but of the combination of respect and strategy. The mistake of too nice people is to believe that everyone is an ally, and when they discover otherwise, it's too late. Loyal armies aren't improvised, they're built with consistency. Emotional loyalty isn't bought, it's earned. You don't create loyal allies just with promises, but with firm and predictable actions. A boss who protects his team in critical moments creates soldiers willing to protect him in return. A friend who displays calculated coolness in conflict situations becomes trustworthy because he doesn't bend at the first whim. These are practical examples of how the calculated use of force and the appearance of virtue work together. Want to build this kind of loyalty? Start by being true to yourself. Don't change your stance with every new opinion. Don't promise what you can't deliver, and don't hand out trust for free. Politics guided by reality teaches that people respect those who stand their ground, even in the midst of chaos. And it is in this respect that true alliances are born, those that endure when everyone else has gone. But there's a dark detail. Loyalty can be tested. Fortune, the chance of life, puts everyone to the test, and it's at that moment that you discover who's truly on your side. It's like a silent war, where only loyal armies remain when the castle shakes. This principle applies to both personal and professional relationships. Therefore, it's vital to build this army before the storm, not after it has already arrived. Internally, this means strengthening your mind with books, practices, and daily reflections that shape your virtue. Externally, it means carefully selecting who deserves to be close to you. After all, decisions based on true human nature teach us that not everyone wants what's best for you. Many just want what you offer. And this is precisely where we enter the next point. The art of deciding not based on what should be, but on what actually is. Decisions based on real human nature. The greatest illusion anyone can have is to believe that people act driven by pure ideals. Machiavelli already denounced this deception. Those who make decisions ignoring real human nature end up being swallowed up by it. People are guided by interests, fears, and desires, not just morality. Politics guided by reality reminds us that a strategist cannot make decisions based on how the world should be, but on how the world is. Want a simple example? At work, there's no point in expecting everyone to be fair. Many will act out of convenience. In relationships, there's no point in expecting perfection. There will be flaws. Deciding based on this nature means accepting the terrain as it is, not as we would like it to be. This doesn't make you cold, but lucid. The price of ignoring this rule is losing the game before it even begins. Those who make decisions based solely on ideals end up becoming easy prey. Consider those who blindly trust political promises. They vote for good speeches and are surprised to realize that power always hides calculations. Also consider those who blindly trust friends or colleagues without evaluating their interests. They end up betrayed. This happens because they confuse the appearance of virtue with its true essence. Machiavelli once said that avoiding being hated is more important than being loved, because love may be false, but fear and respect rarely are. In practice, this means looking at every decision and asking, what does this person gain from this? This simple analysis completely changes the way you interpret situations. The calculated use of force is not brutality, but the intelligence to perceive that behind every word, there is a real motive. Making decisions based on true human nature is liberating because you stop expecting miracles and start working with probabilities. This allows you to shape strategies that work even when fortune turns against you. Want to apply this in your daily life? Before closing a deal, question what hidden agendas are at play. Before believing a promise, examine the person's track record. Before revealing a secret, ask yourself if it could one day be used against you. This filter is like a loyal army within your mind, protecting you from illusions. It's not paranoia, but prudence. And when you start making decisions this way, you discover that even harsh choices can be justified, because in the reality of power, the end justifies the means. The end justifies the means. Few phrases have generated as much discomfort as this one. The end justifies the means. But Machiavelli wasn't encouraging wanton cruelty. He was describing the stark reality of power. In a world where true human nature is driven by self-interest, expecting all actions to be purely ethical is naive. The strategist understands that the most beautiful path isn't always the most effective. Think of a doctor facing a risky surgery. He may need to cut deep, inflict momentary pain to save the patient's life. In leadership roles, the same thing happens. Sometimes it's necessary to make tough, unpleasant decisions, but they guarantee greater results. The appearance of virtue may soften the means, but calculated coldness ensures the goal is achieved. It's not about justifying everything, but about not being paralyzed by naive idealism. The big issue is that most prefer to cling to apparent morality, believing that good intentions are enough. But intentions don't feed families, sustain businesses, or protect territories. Politics guided by reality requires looking squarely at the battlefield. Either you make decisions that generate results, or you'll be just another person who tried to please everyone and failed. This principle is present even in the simplest situations. Imagine someone who needs to cut costs to save their company. Laying people off is painful, but it can prevent hundreds of jobs from being lost at once. This is the strategist's burden, understanding that often the lesser evil is preferable to total collapse. This is where better to be feared than loved gains traction. Firmness generates results, even when it costs applause. Applying this principle to practical life doesn't mean becoming a tyrant, but rather accepting that there are times when there is no perfect choice, only a necessary one. Want applicable examples? A student who has to turn down leisure invitations to dedicate themselves to studying is sacrificing immediate pleasure for future approval. An investor who cuts superfluous expenses to build capital practices the same reasoning. The end, financial freedom, justifies the means, strict discipline. The important thing is not to lose sight of the fact that the calculation must always consider balance. The decision must be tough, but not foolish. This is where virtue shows itself, acting firmly but also with constant adaptability, ensuring that, as the scenario changes, you don't become a prisoner of your own means. And it is precisely this adaptability, the key to surviving and thriving in any terrain, that we now address. Constant adaptability. If there's one principle that separates those who survive from those who thrive, it's constant adaptability. Machiavelli knew that while virtue and fortune shaped destiny, only those who knew how to adapt to change remained in the game. Life is a shifting arena. What worked yesterday may be useless tomorrow. Reality-driven politics requires you to always be ready to change course without losing sight of the objective. Think of a businessman who insists on a failed product simply because he's already invested time and money. He clings to the past and sinks. The adaptable, on the other hand, changes strategy, cuts losses, and finds new paths. This ability to abandon what doesn't work without clinging to illusions is one of the greatest hidden virtues of those who wish to be feared and respected. Adaptability doesn't mean instability, but rather strategic intelligence. You can be firm in your principles, but flexible in your methods. See how this applies in everyday life. A professional who doesn't learn new skills is doomed to irrelevance, no matter how experienced they are. A leader who doesn't understand the new rules of the social game quickly loses influence. Constant adaptability is therefore like having your own loyal armies ready for any terrain. Internal, when we talk about mental resilience, and external, when we talk about allies who follow you into any battle. This mindset prevents fortune with its unexpected turns from destroying what you've built. In the emotional realm, it means not blindly clinging to what has already happened, but accepting that each phase demands new postures, new limits, and even new masks of virtue. The great secret is that constant adaptability isn't just about survival, it's about growth. Those who learn to adapt to changing circumstances without losing their essence create a competitive advantage in any scenario. Want to apply this? If a study strategy doesn't work, change the method. If a relationship becomes toxic, change the boundaries. If a project doesn't bear fruit, change the execution. The end justifies the means, but the means only work if they're in tune with the reality of the moment. This is the true strength of virtue, transforming obstacles into stepping stones, failures into rehearsals, and the unexpected into opportunities. Adapting is refusing to be static. It's living like water that shapes stone, but never loses its essence. And when you master this art, you understand that the game of power never ends. It only changes shape, demanding an ever more refined awareness from you. So tell me, how many times have you realized that your kindness turned into weakness in the wrong hands? How many times have you failed to set boundaries for fear of displeasing and ended up being treated as disposable? If you've made it this far, you already know that Machiavelli wasn't talking about cruelty, but lucidity. Politics guided by reality, not ideals. The end justifies the means when the goal is to protect your mind, your energy, and your respect. Now the choice is in your hands. Will you continue repeating the script of the exploited good guys, or will you apply the calculated use of force and coldness, building loyal emotional armies around you? Will you live trapped in the appearance of virtue, or will you learn to use it as a strategic mask to avoid being hated and at the same time be respected? Only you can decide whether to continue being manipulated or to start rigging the game to your advantage. The question remains simple and brutal. Do you want to be remembered as someone loved but ignored, or as someone respected and impossible to bring down? If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here we go beyond pretty phrases. Here you'll learn step by step how to become emotionally dangerous. And believe me, after that, they'll never mess with you again.